What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I want to talk really quick about Joe Rogan, who I love Joe Rogan. You know, Joe Rogan's one of these guys that he's been watching the sport as long as I've been watching the sport. And that's saying a lot. I've been watching it since 1993. Joe's been there from the beginning. Obviously, he's a martial artist himself, Taekwondo guy plus jiu-jitsu. He knows what he's talking about. So I respect his opinion. However, I saw a headline recently that was saying Joe Rogan was really not giving Duplessis a chance against Khamzat Chimaev. Because he's saying after this second fight with Strickland, he wants Khamzat Chimaev.
Hamzat just charged in, dove in, got him down, and mauled him. Still undefeated!
Do you think it's different with Duplessis? Because he can wrestle?
What he did to Whitaker was just, nobody thought that was going to happen. That was crazy.
That was scary.
Yeah. He does it to everybody. Everybody he gets a hold of, he just ragdolls. And Robert Whitaker, like seeing him breaking Robert Whitaker's jaw just by squeezing across his face. Because this was like Chimaev got the blade of his forearm across the jaw, and it was like just crushing those teeth, and it goes into his mouth. You saw the photo?
Yeah.
What it looks like?
Yeah, man.
You know the damage that you had done to him?
Yeah, before I come in here, they showed it for me, but I felt something was wrong with his chin when I push it. So, but feels bad for that. So, it didn't mean to broke somebody's chin, but it's my work, you know, make somebody pain and make me happy and my family. When I push it, when I felt some clicks.
Do you think if that doesn't happen, Whitaker stands up?
Who knows? I mean, Chimaev was smothering him. Whitaker looked exhausted.
It was like, very early in the fight, too.
Yeah, first round.
Says that Robert only landed 2 strikes.
Wow.
That's crazy. I don't even know what he hit him with.
Yeah.
Do you think it's different with Duplessis? Because he can wrestle?
But I don't know if he's going to be able to wrestle with that guy. Like, I don't know, man. The Hamzat skill is so high level, it makes me wonder. It's like there's some guys, like you see it in jiu-jitsu. There's some guys that look really good until they fight somebody who's really, really good. And then they get manhandled. You know, it's like everybody looks good until they face Gordon Ryan. Like Gordon Ryan can do that to anybody. Like, is Hamzat at that level? Well, it kind of appears that he is. It appears that he's, in terms of like the grappling that he possesses, seems magnitudes greater than anybody else in his division.
Counter argument might be, and you'll correct me, Joe, Gilbert Burns' fight, he won, but he was close.
It was very close. I think it's at 170. I don't think he's the same guy at 170.
Okay.
I also think Gilbert is tough as fuck. I mean, it was a war. He dropped Chimaev. He cracked him with the right hand. But Chimaev, even when he got dropped, he dove in and took him down. Like, he's fucking good, man. He's good. What he did to Whitaker was just, nobody thought that was going to happen. That was crazy.
I am here to make the case for why I think, now, when you're talking about a monster that is as high level as Hamzat, you can only think, right? And we know MMA math doesn't work. And all we can do as fans is look in a fantastical sort of imaginary fashion, put those two opponents against one another. Well, so-and-so did this to this opponent, so-and-so did this to this opponent. That's why they say MMA math doesn't work. But really, MMA math is all we have when it comes to comparing these opponents with one another, right? And so all you can do is say, you know, this guy did this to this guy, but then this guy did this to that guy that guy lost to. So then when you put those two together, you got to say that so-and-so may be better in this area, may not be quite as good in this area as that guy. You know, that's really all we can do as fans when we start looking at these fights. So I do think DDP beats Strickland again. I think he's just going to overwhelm him this time, and I do believe that it will be a more dominant win this time for Duplessis. Now, with that said, he's already said that he wants Khamzat Chimaev next. Now, based on how the fight ended with DDP and Robert Whitaker, Joe Rogan is saying he doesn't see DDP having much of a chance with Khamzat Chimaev. And he talks about how he just, you know, ran over to him, got on top of him. Robert got up for a brief second one time, and then he just threw him right back down. And then, of course, the way he finished him with the, you know, chin crank where he messed his teeth up really bad. I mean, it was brutal. I will say that I think there's a couple of fights that I can point to that lend me to believe that Hamzat is not unbreakable. Okay, now I know you go back to the Gilbert Burns fight and you say, well, that was a hell of a fight. Gilbert took him to the brink, this and that and the third. But, of course, the rebuttal for that is, well, he was cutting too much weight. He's a 6'2", 6'3" guy, Hamzat, trying to fight at 170. He had trouble cutting weight a lot of times. I don't think he was his best at that weight. And that could be true. And that's probably a fair argument. With that said, Gilbert still took him to the brink. Okay. His first fight up at middleweight, basically Kamaru Usman, who, in my opinion, is starting to kind of do this a little bit, basically comes off the couch to fight Khamzat Chimaev. That was a close fight, okay? And I'm looking at this and I'm saying MMA math doesn't work, and we always say that, but MMA math is really all we have. All we can do is look at that, look at each fighter's martial arts history, and then try to make a sort of comparison on who we think might get over on the other guy on that given night. That's all we can do, right? I'm looking at Kamaru Usman against Hamzat. I'm like, he took Kamaru Usman down. He rode him for the whole first round. But then guess what? Kamaru Usman was able to weather the storm. Kamaru Usman is absolutely a better grappler and a more dominant grappler than Whitaker. I will give him that. Robert Whitaker's more of a striker. I mean, he's a good grappler. He showed that against Duplessis. He took Duplessis down. So just like anybody, I was somewhat surprised at how quickly Khamzat Chimaev got Robert Whitaker out of there. But I will say, too, if that fight happens 10 times, I don't think that what he did to him in that fight happens but maybe once. With that said, I'm looking at the Kamaru Usman Hamzat fight. Kamaru Usman came off the couch and he was able to survive the first round. Okay. He's a better grappler than Robert Whitaker for sure. But I think Duplessis is at least on the level of Kamaru Usman. Plus, he's a big, strong, durable dude with a lot of endurance, okay? And I don't see Khamzat Chimaev being able to get Duplessis down and have his way with him the way he did Robert Whitaker. And I don't know what was going on with Robert Whitaker in that night. I don't know if it was just a kind of a lapse in judgment. You have to give credit where credit is due. Obviously, Hamzat is a monster, okay? There's no doubt about that. And his skill level when it comes to grappling is definitely on another level than other guys that get in there with him. Okay, I give him credit for that, but I think Duplessis is a guy that is going to be able to get in there, hang in there, weather the storm, kind of like Kamaru did the first round. And, Khamzat's one of those guys during the first round. He's very, very dangerous, very, very high pace. But if you can survive that first 5 minutes, he starts to become human. Okay? And we've seen that. Gilbert Burns fight. Yeah, I know this was at welterweight, but Gilbert Burns fight was very, very strong in the first round. Second, third round, Gilbert started to kind of have his way with him a little bit, even hurt him a couple of times. You get him in the Kamaru Usman fight, same thing. He was on Kamaru like stink on shit for that first round. Kamaru was able to stay safe, was able to keep from getting subbed or anything like that, making sure he was always in a good defensive position. I mean, he was on his knees, but he was never letting Hamzat get his arms wrapped around him or anywhere close to his neck where he could get choked out. He was just being really careful. I would say DDP is a stronger, bigger individual at middleweight than Kamaru Usman is. Kamaru Usman fought his whole career at welterweight, So I think DDP being a stronger, more physical specimen, and plus, guys, there's certain intangibles about guys that you just can't explain, okay? And DDP is one of those guys that he just finds a way to win. you know, and when all of the chips are down and when all of the cards are out on the table and you look at guys skill for skill, but this guy's got this skill, but this guy's a little better in this area, and this guy fought this guy and he whooped his ass, but then this other guy barely, you know, made it through a fight with that same opponent. And once you do all of that, comparing apples to apples and then sometimes apples to oranges, and once you do all that, sometimes you're just left with, but this dude just finds a way to win. And that's what I see about Duplessis. Now, I get it. Hamzat is undefeated. And with these undefeated guys, it's really tough to see these guys lose sometimes because they're undefeated. We've never seen them lose. So it's hard to imagine something happening that you've never seen happen, right? But we have seen chinks in his armor. We have seen that he's very, very dangerous and very, very explosive early on in the fight, the first round. But if you can make it past that, we've seen guys like Gilbert Burns, Kamaru Usman, you know, both of those fights, very close fights. I mean, there were fans wondering who actually won that fight between Gilbert Burns and Hamzat, Kamaru Usman and Hamzat, right? I just think that Duplessis is going to get in there and sure, he might get taken down the first round, but being a strong physical guy and a guy who has the iron will, he covets that position as the middleweight champion. He does not want to lose that. And again, I know I keep saying it, and he just finds a way to win. I think he gets in there with Hamzat. Hamzat, sure, I'm sure he'll get a shot on him, take him down, get him to the mat. I think that Duplessis survives it. I think when they come out in the second round, Hamzat has spewed a little bit of his energy, a little bit of that adrenaline dump took place. His energy levels just enough lower where I think that pace and that resilience and that I'm coming after your ass because I'm keeping this belt is going to come out in DDP. And I think he'll start to chip away until finally later, maybe fourth round, he gets Hamzat out of there. I'm picking DDP to beat Khamzat Chimaev. Weathering the early storm, starting to chip away at him because we know that Hamzat is one of those guys that is extremely explosive and extremely dangerous early. But if you can get past that stage with him, he is a mere mortal. Okay? And I think that DDP is that kind of guy that gets excited about showing the people that this guy is a mortal like anyone else, and he can be beat like anyone else. And I think he'll find a way to do it. I really do. I can't wait for that fight when it happens. I'm almost looking past the Strickland fight. I'm ready for that Hamzat fight. Please don't let Hamzat get sick. I swear, every time that guy gets a good fight coming up, it seems like he gets sick. Let me know what you guys think about that. Leave it in the comments. Share the video, share the content if you would, and like the video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.